My name is James Cordwell. In the programme this week, I take a nostalgic look back at a time without COVID-19. Yes, just 4 months back, to be precise, and in part 3, this one, of a 3-part series, I examine the day that changed everything for generations to come. Now this is part 3, Brexit Day. The day is actually happened. Well, in Brexit Day Part 3, it had been a very difficult journey. For 3.5 years, every party in Parliament struggled to implement any Brexit solution that could pass a majority vote in Parliament. But how do we get to that? Well, Prime Minister Theresa May took on the leadership with great optimism, but a great start wasn't to last. The Conservatives under Theresa May inherited a slim majority in Parliament, enough to invoke Article 50 to start the process of leaving the European Union, but not enough to guarantee getting all required legislation through. There were those in the party demanding a clean break with the EU as the only logical way forward to respect the will of the British people, but others, led by Chancellor Philip Hammond, wanted to safeguard British jobs and favoured a closer alignment with the European Union, despite what the actual vote of the referendum said. Now, arguments over whether this would mean the UK would not, in any meaningful sense, actually leave the European Union threatened to tear the Conservative Party apart. Prime Minister May knew she had to roll the dice. A snap general election was called, and the Conservative Party thought that the big win would restore the party's majority and guarantee that it could get any legislation it required through Parliament. However, a terrible campaign with a disastrous manifesto which took meals from poor children and threatened to use your house to pay for medical needs delivered only the slimmest majority. And from there on in, kicking the can down the road was policy to delay any difficult decision, and the European Union became, frankly, well, belligerent. Sensing the inherent weakness in the UK Parliament, they demanded concession after concession, and they got them. No faction in government could control the agenda, not even, it seemed, the executive. In December, a hopeless situation was resolved in the ballot box when the British public resoundingly voted to get Brexit done. And the new Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, was returned with a great majority, and suddenly the shoe was on the other foot. The UK stated its case, showed what it wanted, and spoke with one voice. We were going to get Brexit done, and Boris was going to get it done for us. Let's remind ourselves of where we left off in part 2, and we saw that even with a few hours to go, some still couldn't quite believe we were actually leaving.
I think the atmosphere is really good tonight. It has been a long time coming. I think the pressure from the people paid off in the end. And we got what we voted for 3.5 years ago.
Well, the referendum result was quite a while ago now, but it seems that successive governments under Theresa May and all the politicians in Westminster simply refused to do it until one man stepped forward and said, "I'm going to get Brexit done, Boris Johnson." What do you think about him?
I don't think he had a choice in the matter, really, did he? We'd not just had the Brexit vote, we'd had general election, another general election. I think the choice of what the people made had to be done in the end.
I mean, Boris Johnson had an overwhelming majority. Liberal Democrats were basically a Remain party. Labour was just Remain or Remain light. So they did have a choice, and every time they've been asked this question, they've resoundingly said, we want to leave the European Union.
Yeah, I think some people that actually voted to remain in 2016 had probably come round towards a leave position. Simply because they wanted the democratic vote in 2016 enacted.
Yes, indeed. I spoke to a lot of people, especially from northern cities, who have never voted Conservative in their lives, but they did vote overwhelmingly Conservative.
Yeah, well, I'm from the northwest, and there's a lot of people thinking what I've just said and what you've reiterated.
I mean, what you're looking forward to after today's proceedings?
It's a complete unknown, to be quite honest, but if the right rules are made, we've got every chance of making improvements.
That's a really good answer. Thank you so much. Less than 2 hours, we'll be a free nation, a sovereign state again. It's taken 3.5 years to get to this point. What do you think about that right now?
Well, let's wait to see that it happens. 11 o'clock, we should be free.
You think there's a doubt that it will happen before 11? It's going to happen at 11. 11 o'clock, we are leaving this organisation called the European Union.
We are. And tomorrow morning, I'll have realised that it's happened. We'll have the opportunity to say goodbye to the European Union. They're our friends.
Yes, they are.
And they continue to be our friends. And providing the UK can strike adequate trade deals, then I think everybody will be happy.
There you go. Even with just 2 hours to go to midnight on that one day, some people were still wondering if we are going to be leaving. It was that kind of day. Now, hopefully that gentleman still believes we have actually left. Well, the Brexit Party campaigners and party officials were out and about, looking quite happy with themselves, if I may say so, and I had the chance to talk to a couple of them.
Can I first of all have your name, please?
My name is Mitch Firestein. I was a candidate in the last Parliament election in December with the Brexit Party, representing Reading East. I think that what this represents is a giant step forward for the independence of this country. We're restoring our sovereignty. The Supreme Court over there will now rule, and we'll set our own laws rather than that European Court of Justice telling us what to do. We'll decide how our money's spent and where it's spent and where and when we do that. I think that Nigel Farage this needs to be Nigel Farage's day. Independence Day, Nigel Farage Day. Look, we worked really hard on this project. The Brexit Party did a lot more than people think. They've accomplished quite a bit. They eviscerated the Labour Party, wiped out the Liberal Democratic Party, ensured there would be no second referendum, and also made sure that Boris had a big enough majority so that he can get the clean break Brexit that we all deserve and we've been waiting 3 years for. Parliament has frustrated the voters of this country by disregarding the will of the people. That doesn't work in a democracy. Today is a giant step forward for democracy, and I'm so happy to be here. Look at all the people, how excited everybody is. You've got disgruntled German media running around filming people. And we had some Remainer tears falling down out of the sky. So it's so appropriate.
You can see that there is a very much a party atmosphere here in Parliament Square. If you're local, get down here. But how does this sound to you, Sir Nigel Farage?
Well, I don't know if Nigel would accept it, but I think that they should definitely offer him a peerage. You know, I think he's against the whole system of the House of Lords. But I think if anybody were to be offered a peerage, he should be offered a peerage without a doubt, and he deserves it because he's orchestrated a seismic change in the politics of this country and the European Union. I can guarantee you a few things. One, this country was the first to leave the EU. Two, we won't be the last to leave the EU. And the profligate sovereign nations such as Italy, whose banks are all bankrupt, Spain, France, all their banks are bankrupt, including Deutsche Bank, the largest insolvent with $70 trillion on their balance sheet. So I know quite a bit about economics. That's my background in banking for 40 years. And that's why my expertise with the Brexit Party helped us move it forward.
Okay, look, what can you say? I'll give you 10 more seconds. Give me a message for the world at large about the positivity that is felt in this country by people who believe in the future of this country.
I think we can determine our own destiny now. We can go out and make bigger and better trade deals with the rest of the world on a bilateral basis. And I think that that's very much underestimated by everybody, the power to do that. And it's significant.
What's your name?
David.
And you used to work for the Leave campaign, I believe.
I was campaigned in 2016 for a number of months to come out. And yeah, we succeeded and we've done it now.
What does it feel like after 3.5 years? I thought sometime last year, I thought it may be never going to happen. Did you ever feel that it would be stalled forever?
I thought that was going to happen. I thought you know, the way it was going on in that place behind, and it was just, you know, I almost gave up. But I thought we always had the moral victory having won the referendum. So, you know, they couldn't take that away, but we've come out.
I mean, there's been figures like Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson. How important have they been to this entire culmination of success?
They've been extremely important. So it's been a broad range of figures across political parties, various people in different industries and so on.
I mean, mean, how much do we? I mean, if I said to you, Sir Nigel Farage, do you think that's enough?
Why not? If you can give Sir Andrew Murray a knighthood, then what? Definitely.
So look, we're now out of the EU, but we're not quite out of it yet. We're still in the transition period.
Yeah.
We've got between now, I believe, and September, when the EU yet again want to set the agenda and say it must be dealt with by then.
Yeah.
Can we get a trade deal with our colleagues and partners in the European Union?
I think logic dictates that we should get a trade deal, but we need to be very vigilant, and we need to be tough. And ultimately, if we value sovereignty above all else, then if they threaten us with tariffs, then we may have to call their bluff and say, okay, we'll accept it. But I think they'll be unwise to treat us any differently than any other third country.
I know they've got a trade deal with Canada, they've got a trade deal with the United States, they've got a trade deal with Japan, but none of those countries are regulatorily aligned, so why should we be?
Exactly. Well, they want to make an example of this country because they don't want any other country to come out, whereas if it was so great, then they wouldn't have to make threats in the first place. So, they should just treat this country like any normal independent country, and then maybe they'll appear a bit more reasonable. But it's all down to the likes of the Irish government and the commissioners to be reasonable.
How important is it now for Boris Johnson to be a strong leader for this country?
He needs to be strong, and he's going to have to prove himself. I mean, I didn't vote in the last election because I think he has to prove himself. I mean, I didn't support the withdrawal agreement, but the situation can be. It can be salvaged, or not salvaged, but we can make the most of it. We have potential, but he needs to be tough, and he needs to be prepared to not to be friends with everyone, but to act in the national interest.
So we've got little over 7 months.
Yeah.
Perhaps we'll not get a decent trade deal. Perhaps they'll try to tie us up. I don't know, make a deal from our fish to our, financial services. They'll try to make it difficult for us. What is, if we go to a no-deal Brexit in 7 months' time, September, we say, you know what, we've had enough of this, we just forget about it. He's got the numbers in Parliament to do it. Would that really be a bad thing?
Not necessarily. I mean, what can the EU threaten the United Kingdom with? They can threaten tariffs, but let's remember that there's a massive trade deficit that works against the EU. So, I mean, is it £70 billion trade deficit in the UK's favour? Sorry, in the UK's fender, that's a year. So I think they'd be very unwise to act like fools in that regard.
So we've just finished this entire proceedings tonight. We've seen Nigel Farage, Mr. Tice, we've seen Anne Widdecombe all talking to us. In 10 seconds, give us a message to the nation about the positivity or the positive aspects of Brexit.
Well, this has been a very good occasion. These are the sort of people that are like-minded people, very good-natured. All the defamatory things that have been said, totally untrue. And it's an excellent occasion for everyone to come together, and it's a democratic triumph. And it will be, we'll have accountable politicians, which is what this has all been about.
Fantastic, fantastic. I wonder, all those prophetic words, will they all appear to be true? Interesting, isn't it? Now, democracy has had its way now, according to Tim and Gillian, and they suggested that Nigel Farage should be rewarded for what he has done for the country.
Can I have your names, please?
My name is Tim from Gloucestershire.
Gillian from Gloucestershire.
And you've come quite a way then, have you?
100 miles, yeah, and staying the night in a hotel.
Just to come here to celebrate.
Come here for today and just be part of this great occasion.
3.5 years of procrastinating Parliament over there.
Yeah.
Boris Johnson changed it all in 3.5 weeks. What are your feelings right now to be seeing this actually happening?
Well, it's good that the people have got their way at long last. 3.5 years of torture because the MPs didn't want us to leave, did they? Clearly. But democracy has had its way and we've got our wish now, haven't we? So it's worth the wait and the torture.
Can I ask you, Gillian, what do you feel now about Boris Johnson and faces like Nigel Farage?
Well, I think he's been great, and he's said what he's done what he said that he was going to do, and brilliant. And Nigel, I think he's been great as well.
I mean, Nigel Farage has been campaigning for Brexit for what, 37 years?
Well, 20 at least, yes, exactly. That's all he ever wanted to do. He's a great guy. He's got no recognition for it in terms of the establishment. And I would like to see him get something one day for what he's done, because without him, this would not have happened, that's for sure. Would not have happened. And he went against the grain. and people like him. He speaks it as he sees it, and speaks a lot of truth, and a lot of our MPs and politicians don't anymore, do they?
It seems that the politicians have lost the plot on this. The vast majority of them seem to think they know better than the people. And the general election, the last one in December, and the previous referendum clearly said leave. Why were they so reluctant?
I don't really know. I mean, vested interests. They like arguing amongst themselves. There are global businesses and stuff maybe supporting them and encouraging them. They should listen to people more. And even Barnier in Brussels has said we should listen to people more. Big mistake if you don't, and we've proved that today.
Well, I'll give you 10 seconds each. Tell me, give me it seems very positive out here. Everybody's bedecked in the Union Jack, yeah? Tell me, be positive, give a message to the world about how you feel about Brexit.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant for UK, and I think it'll make us strong again.
And sir?
I think we'll make a success of it. I really do. I think this is... we've never been comfortable in Europe. Never been comfortable. Even Charles de Gaulle said in the 60s, you're not the right type of people to join. And he's right. He was right. 40 years ago, he was right.
Amen. There you go. Charles de Gaulle said it 1960s, you're just not the right kind of people to join the European Union project. And he was absolutely right. Now, not for the first time, I heard interesting assessments that the UK was always a bad fit into the EU, even it seems that Charles de Gaulle agreed. Now, I spoke to so many people on that day that I have just time for just 2 more. Again, no deal enthusiasts, but with a warning for our lovely Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, and after him, a gentleman who was determined that we in the UK don't need to be a part of a federalist Europe. And we as a nation, the 5th biggest economy in the world, we need to stand tall and be proud.
Well, yeah, but we need to make sure that we hold Boris's feet to the coals because we need a proper Brexit, not a fudge. We need a real one.
You're talking about a no-deal Brexit possibility, are you?
A no-deal Brexit would be the ideal.
Because the European Union are trying to tell you that you need to have regulatory alignment in order to trade with them, but they don't do that for Canada, Japan, America, or anybody else for that matter.
The vast majority of everything that's produced for the EU comes from India and China. Neither of them are in the EU, but they produce things and they put CE marks on them that they conform to the European standard. That's all we have to do.
Indeed. What have you got to say right now about people like Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage? What kind of feelings come to mind?
Boris is, to me, a very clever bloke. He's maybe a little bit too clever, and he works the system. He needs to prove himself to the people of England. Nigel, I am made up for him. I'm glad that he's finally got his dream. I really wish that he would push into politics deeper. I know he's hanging back from that. He's hanging back from that, but I personally, I wish that he would, because I'd certainly vote for him.
Okay, final 10 seconds. You feel positive about Brexit? What would you have to say to the world at large?
I feel positive about Brexit. I wish the media in England felt positive about Brexit. Look out, world, we're coming.
Well, I think Nigel Farage has been absolutely incredible. I saw pictures of him 20 years ago, 1999. There were 3 UKIP politicians in the European Parliament. After the last European elections, 26. And fantastic. I mean, what an achievement.
He managed to achieve in weeks, it seemed, what Theresa May could not achieve in 3.5 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been pathetic how we haven't stood up to the EU and just negotiated the way we should have negotiated from the start. We're the 5th biggest economy in the world. We can stand on our own 2 feet. We do not need to be in a federal Europe. A federal Europe is an absolute cancer, total cancer. We should be, and I hope that we start, we leave, and it starts the ball rolling, and the European Union disappears within 20 years. It'd be fantastic. 5 years if possible.
Now, a lot has been said about European Union won't let us have a trade deal if we don't go to regulatory alignment. What do you think of that?
Who cares? They don't seem to understand. We're leaving. We're not part of their club anymore. Once we're out of their club, we have our rules, they have their rules, and we try and align, and we'll find a very nice deal, because they're going to suffer more than us if they decide to really... Good negotiators will have a fantastic deal. There'll be nothing to worry about.
Fantastic. One final comment, 30 seconds. What do you want to say to the nation at this moment in time?
Celebrate. You know, we 20 years ago, in 1974, we were duped. We were told that we were going to go into a common market. A wonderful thing. Nobody would disagree. A common market is a great thing. So we joined a common market. Over the last few years, it's been absolutely outrageous that the European Union have imposed what is an absolutely obvious federal Europe, trying to have all the power in Brussels. And eventually, the way they see it, they really wish that the whole of all the 27 countries are ruled by Brussels. That is what they're aiming to do. There's nothing else they're aiming to do. And today is the first day. We're out, and I hope it starts everybody else waking up and the European Union disappearing altogether.
Independence Day. You heard it here on Love World TV.
Independence Day indeed. Then came the moment that all of us were waiting for. And I'll just apologise at the beginning about the singing. It was just one of those kind of emotional days.
Happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the Queen. Well, 47 years in the EU has come to an end right now. Right now. The grassroots movement of ordinary people against the establishment have made this happen. The politicians didn't want to make it happen. That parliament over there didn't want to deliver it for you. Nigel Farage was campaigning for years, 27 years, so that you could have this opportunity to leave. The referendum result came through very resoundingly clear. Leave the European Union. But the politicians didn't want to listen to it. 3.5 years of procrastination, delay, constant delay. They didn't want to deliver it. Boris Johnson came on the scene and he helped Nigel Farage get the result we all wanted. It's been a triumph of democracy, a triumph of ordinary people against the establishment. Today you can breathe free air as a free, independent, sovereign nation. Love World reporting, James Caudle here in Parliament Square.
So finally, after 3.5 years of what it seemed like hard labour, the UK left the EU on the 31st of December 2019. It was finally done. We were out of the European Union. So that's about that really. I walk back in time to December 31st, 2019 in Parliament Square. A day filled with excitement and hope for the future. Biblical prophecy fulfilled, according to Father Neil Horan in part 1, and everyone was looking forward to the future with hope-filled hearts. A real victory of the people against the establishment. Of course, there's still a long way to go. Negotiations have started over the new trading relationship, and that story is introduced in Get to the Point called EU Treaty or UK Free Trade, and you'll find that on demand at loveworlduk.org. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our look back at the easier times before COVID-19, but I think you'll all agree it's been a positive time in December. Now you've been watching Get to the Point, and my name is James Cordwell, and God bless you all.